Hello everyone, this is CJ992 and today we're back for another brand new video, and today we're going to take a short little adventure away from the regular scheduled programming, which is of course previews and match reactions, as we're here to discuss the latest news coming out of the football club, as we had a little Rangers Hall of Fame ceremony yesterday, and we've got some things to break and discuss and obviously react to as three players have been inducted into the incredible Rangers Hall of Fame. And I felt with the news coming out last night, I thought I actually want to sit here and talk about it on the channel, because I would like to give my opinion on the three players that's been inducted and everything like that, give my thoughts on it. But more importantly, I actually wanted to see where your heads are actually sitting regarding these three players. Maybe discuss a couple memories, just have a wee bit of fun, ladies and gentlemen, talking about all things Rangers. So we're not only here just to congratulate Alan McGregor, Stephen Davis, and of course current skipper James Tavernier to the Rangers Hall of Fame. We're actually going to give your thoughts and opinions and actually discuss it. So if you fancy getting involved, people, strap yourselves in and let's actually go in it. If you also didn't mind hitting the like button, that'd be greatly appreciated. YouTube's sort of killing channels right now, so that would be much appreciated, as the current CEO has left and now it's absolute madness out here on the YouTube front, so any support would be greatly appreciated. But moving into the first name, I think we'll start off with one that I believe will be unanimously accepted and unanimously praised. I'm of course talking about none other than the man who sometimes dives to his left, sometimes dives to his right, and at least once a season comes off his line. It is none other than Alan McGregor. And if I'm honest with you, and I can just say from like a selfish point of view, I'm actually excited that I get to talk about Alan McGregor in a way that's not going to have a negative sting to it, or I need to criticise him, because we all know he is one of my favourite all-time players, and I've certainly not enjoyed the last 12 months, last 16 months having to criticise one of my legends, one of my heroes growing up and everything like that, and maybe say a couple negative things about his performance. I've never liked doing all that, and it has made me very sad inside. But I'm so thankful for this video right here that I get to sit here and I get to sit with a smile on my face and I get to talk about the greatness which is Alan McGregor, who for me is a first ballot Hall of Famer, if you want. The boy's not even retired and he should have been in there earlier, in my opinion, because he is such an incredible force for Rangers, and force has been it, because being a goalkeeper and that, you can maybe get overlooked and you can maybe just get lost in the shuffle. But Alan McGregor, over his 2 stints at Rangers, has made sure that he is simply unforgettable. And for me, in my personal opinion, despite his moments and despite his magic, the Samaras penalty, the phenomenal, still unbelievable save in European football that I don't understand even to this day how he kept it out to the net, even all those memories, I actually think he's actually given us more, and I think he's been a more accomplished, better goalkeeper once he's actually came back. So if there was ever a goalkeeper to get inducted into the Rangers Hall of Fame, because trust me, there's so many greats, it still hasn't been, I'm so glad the next one has been Alan McGregor, who in my personal opinion fully deserves it and has earned the right to sit there amongst the all-time greats at this football club. Of course, he is now obviously at the age of 41, he is still playing, and again, I don't feel like we've maybe done him justice and maybe done his memory justice, at least anyway, because people are starting to take digs at him and have frustrations at him and say this about him and say this, and that shouldn't be happening. But that's the club's failing, that's nothing to do with Alan McGregor. All McGregor's ever done is answered the bell and answered the call when Rangers have needed him to go out there and try to put a performance. And again, we thought we had a successor put in place with John McLaughlin. It didn't quite work out, so we relied on the then 40, now 41-year-old goalkeeper to come back in and play over 25 games so far for us this season, keeping 8 clean sheets, which again isn't the greatest stats or anything. No, gonna jump at you, and I'm not gonna lie here and try and do a puff piece to say he's been spectacular this season, but again, we know our circumstances. We know he wasn't maybe the first choice going forward, but we failed as a football club to make sure we had a McGregor successor, so McGregor's having to come back and try to give his absolute best at the age of 41. But of course, this isn't just about a single season or anything like that, you know what I mean? This is about a career. It takes a lot of blood, sweat and tears, people, to be even close to being eligible for the likes of the Rangers Hall of Fame, and that's what this man's done in his entire career, as he's went ahead and played a ridiculous 475 games. People, this man has kept 213 clean sheets. His European game record and everything like that at this football club stands on its own. Simply an incredible servant to this football club, and it brings me a lot of pleasure. And what I will say, people, I don't know about yous, like, we didn't get emotional often, you know what I mean? Oh, man, But when McGregor gets emotional, everyone cries. Like, genuinely, it's just so emotional. Seeing his reaction after it and the stuff he had to say, it's what it's all about, people. And my last thing I'll say about McGregor before we move on to the next part, I think considering the fact that this man now, deservedly so by the way, sits at the table and can genuinely have a conversation as being one of, if not the greatest Rangers goalkeeper at our football club, is a testament to this man. Just to be in the conversation, because now it's no ridiculous to say that. Again, people will have their favourites, and Gorham will probably always end up being the winner of that conversation. But the fact that Alan McGregor can sit there and we can have a conversation just tells you everything you need to know. And maybe doesn't need the crown, but to be there and be alongside the all-time great Andy Gorham as the Rangers goalkeeper at this football club is just simply ridiculous. And I don't think many people were expecting it when he burst onto the scene during the 06 season and everything and started to play the games. I don't think many were actually expecting it, but that's what the lad's gone on to do. Everyone will have their favourites. You can put yours down in the comment section below, but I would love to know your thoughts and opinions on McGregor being inducted to the Hall of Fame. Do you agree with that decision? And if you don't mind, what is the one memory that always comes to your mind from Alan McGregor? It'd be great to see some answers down in the comment section below so I can scroll down and have a smile on the old Nasher. And speaking of smiles on Nashers, by the way, that gives us the opportunity to move into the second player that was inducted into the Rangers Hall of Fame, where, very similar to Alan McGregor, I don't think there'll be many people disappointed or many people frustrated in the fact that Stephen Davis has been inducted. And I'm not trying to sound like a broken record here, but again, this is one of my all-time favourite players. But I feel like when, especially with the likes of Stephen Davis, I don't know why he wouldn't be one of your favourite players. This is the professional's professional, if you know what I mean. This is the player's player, if you get what I'm saying, because this laddie has every right and everything like for what he's done in his career to maybe have a wobble or some off the field stuff or this or this or this or this, but the guy's never done that. This guy has just been what he's always dreamed of being when he was a wee laddie, and he never got lost in the money and the wee bit of the old fame that comes with it and everything like that. He just never got lost in the fact that all he wanted to be was a footballer from day one to where he is right now. And again, that's somebody that people should be looking up to. That's the player right there that you should model yourself after and say, there you are, that's who I want to be when I get older. The likes of Stephen Davis. And again, I'm going to maybe break away slightly from Rangers here, but just looking at what he was able to do for his country, always available. No, oh, I've got a sore ankle, oh, I've got a sore leg, oh, I can't be bothered. No, every single time his country called, he answered, and that's why he went on to break the international UK cap record. It's a joke, and obviously pulling it back to Rangers because that's what we're here to discuss. You'll never find anyone with a bad word to say about this laddie in his entire career. He has just been so consistent from day one to where he was before, unfortunately, that potential potential career-ending injury. It was a joke, and again, the amount of games that he's played and the stats and statistics that we'll break down in a second won't really ever tell you just what this lad brought to the Rangers midfield. I mean, I still remember, and I never really got it when I was younger, and like watching Stephen Davis play at right mid in European games. Do you remember that? Remember Walter would play him at right mid? I never understood why he'd done that, but when I got a wee bit older, I understood why he'd done it. It's because he trusted Stephen Davis, and if you can get the trust of Walter Smith, you've got something about you, especially at the age in that there obviously was then, and then he grew and became a much more focal point of the team, and just the orchestrator in the midfield. There's very, very few players that's ever been able to do what Davis does in the middle of the park, and I know we're all excited about the Raskins and everything like that, but if he can control a midfield half, even half as good as Stephen Davis did for the majority of his Rangers career, then we are on to a winner, people. Let's not forget the true greatness of Stephen Davis, despite, again, maybe like Alan McGregor the last year, it's starting to come down and wind down, obviously, as the career clock ends up ticking on. When he was at his best, there was very, very, very few that could sit and dance with this laddie in the middle of the park. Not flashy, not skillful, it's no gonna jump at you, but you can ask any player that's ever played against him just how good Stephen Davis actually is, and he brings you what you didn't see in the statistics, and again, that's control of the midfield. But as I'm starting to get lost in my Stephen Davis love, and I could sit and talk about this laddie all day, honestly, I will pull it back a little bit. For Rangers, he played 360 times, he has scored 27 goals and grabbed an impressive 70 assists during that period. But again, it's not just about the stats with this lad. That's not the type of player he was. That wasn't really his job to do that. His job was the stat that doesn't come up at the end of the game. control and winning the midfield battle, and he'd done that throughout his Rangers career. Again, he led us and he played a massive part in taking us to 2 European finals, people. Again, the second didn't know as much as the first one because the way the rotations and that worked, and I'll speak about another player that in my opinion drove us to the second final. But to sit here and say a midfielder for Rangers, people, took a run and went with the team to 2 European finals is simply incredible. And again, I could sit here and talk about this laddie all day, but I won't bore these people. One of my all-time greats, someone that everyone should look up to say that's what I want to be. If you actually want to be a footballer and you didn't want to be a social media person with all the fancy cars and that, if you want to be a footballer, you look at Stephen Davis and say that's who I should model my career after. Now, we did of course mention earlier the potential career-ending injury, and the laddie's tackling this injury the same way he's tackled his entire career, with complete professionalism and taking it head on, battling with everything he's got. And he's obviously came out in his interview and said it's his dream to play for Rangers at least once more, pulling on that jersey at least one more time. And I think this will be the only time I ever speak for you watching today's video. I think we all hope and agree that we want to see Davis pull it on at least one more time. That would be the storybook ending, and hopefully we get to see Davis go ahead and do that in a Rangers shirt. But just like the Alan McGregor one, I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions on Davis being included. And of course, give me one Stephen Davis memory. The one right away is jumping to me, people, is the overhead kick versus Celtic, but I'd love to know where you actually go with that. What's your favourite Stephen Davis memory? And with that being said, we now get to the last but certainly not least, or it will be least to a lot of people, as we come and discuss one player that, unlike the previous two where I think there will be a lot of positivity and a lot of people agreeing with the decision, I can see this gone another way, people. And I'll be honest with you, obviously this was announced last night. I've seen a little bit of the social media reaction. Again, I don't try to look at it too much before I do a video because I didn't want to be swayed by someone's opinion, but it was quite evident to see there was a lot of people, or maybe the vocal minority, that wasn't happy at the fact that James, it might be the fact that it might just be the vocal minority that's upset that James Tavernier was inducted into the Rangers Hall of Fame. But aye, it could be everyone, and you could be getting ready to go after me in the comment section below. And listen, I maybe should sit here and agree with the people that's out there saying he shouldn't be in yet, blah 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 blah, and that would make it a hell of a lot easier. You wouldn't shout at me. But again, I'm always just going to be honest on the channel. I think he does deserve to go in. Now, before you pause the video and scream at me in the comment section below, give me a couple minutes to just voice my opinion on why I believe he does need to be in the Hall of Fame, or deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I should probably word it better that way. This lad right here has captained us through one of our most challenging times. Again, I'm not going to say the worst era or blah blah blah, because for me that almost gets kind of lost in the shuffle, because I think our worst era was the likes when Wallace captained us and McCulloch through the bottom leagues and everything. Tavernier obviously came in and eventually captained us, but he didn't take us from the bottom to the top, where I think a lot of revisional history and that starts to get a wee bit lost. That wasn't his, but I'm not taking anything away from that, because again, for me, he still captained us in our most challenging time, which wasn't at the bottom. It's when we actually came to the top and we had to take on the juggernaut that was that winning Celtic machine. And again, people didn't like me praising or saying that, but this was a team that had spent a lot of money, who was show jumping round the leagues when we were down the bottom, just building a team that nobody could get anywhere near for years upon years upon years, and then we jumped up. And again, the squad was nowhere near good enough. I wouldn't even say a mile off it, people. We were well and truly an iceberg all the way down to the bottom, away from that Celtic side. And Tavernier had to take that. You're the Rangers captain. You've got to be Barry. You've got to be John. You've got to be this. You've got to be that. And he had to carry that when we were frustrated at the team being nowhere near good enough. And that lad got a lot of the frustration and a lot of the abuse as well, because again, he was wearing that captain's armband. So he was the media's punch bag. He was sometimes the fans' punch bag. Some might argue still is the fans' punch bag. But you know what I mean, with all that frustration when we wanted to close that gap on Celtic and win that league title. This laddie was battered for pillar to post. And I do think sometimes people forget that these players are actually human beings. Have you ever been at work and had a lot of pressure on you and felt like people going after you? Does that feel nice? Well, imagine being Tavernier, imagining to carry that weight of not only the Rangers captain's armband, but the weight of the frustration of the entire fan base wanting that league title and wanting Celtic stop. So I think he's actually done a pretty good job, and it tells you a lot about his mentality and his character that he was willing to take that, because a lot ran for the exits, a lot down tools and couldn't handle the pressure. But whether you love him or you loathe him, the man stood there and took every bit of abuse for years upon years upon years, till we built a squad that was capable enough to challenge Celtic. And that's how I feel about this lad in the old trophy discussion. It's irrelevant almost in a way, because you say, oh, he's not won this, he's got to win this. Yes, I agree now when you look at the teams, right? I'll say yes, he does need to win more trophies now that the teams are the way they actually are compared to Celtic. But to sit here and say through his first several years as Rangers captain and everything, that he should have been winning more trophies and everything like that, is just lying to yourself, because we weren't near it, people. Now, yes, going forward, but then, no. So that's my personal opinion on the trophy discussion. That you can't hold that against Tavernier. And again, I even give him praise to stand in there and take the amount of abuse that lad has got. That lad must have the mentality of an absolute steel trap, because I couldn't have handled it. Could you? Genuinely. Maybe no, people, but what I will tell you is something we couldn't have done, and that was join Rangers in the Championship, lead them back to the promised land, which was the top flight of Scottish football, get the captain's armband, and eventually lead this side to an undefeated, record-breaking league campaign, winning arguably our most important title of recent history. It's not only stopping Celtic, but getting us back to the tippity top of Scottish football, where he went and won Player of the Year. Talk about pressure, talk about that. In our biggest season, he won Player of the Year. He stepped up and was needed and was massive that year. But not only that, this is also a laddie that didn't just play his part in a European final run. No, he won the Golden Boot, people, taking us to a European final, being the first defender to win the Golden Boot since Coleman, people, about 50 years ago. 40, maybe I'll be disrespectful to him, but it was a ridiculously long time. So aye, the lad's done things in his Rangers career. Let's not forget it. Didn't you believe me? Well, again, let's go ahead and look at it. This man has played 387 games for Rangers. That's right, he's already played more than Stephen Davis, and this lad's still going strong. That Mcgregor amount of appearances is under real threat if the skip dog can remain injury free going forward. And I imagine if he does, because he has been an Iron Man for this football club, he will go on to maybe even smash the 500 appearance record for Rangers, and that is mental to actually say it loud. But again, he's not just a guy that's there, you know what I mean? He's not just in the background. No, he's impacting and he's changing games and he's winning games and he's doing things, people, because in those 387 games, this lad has 95 goals. 95, people. That's more than Gaza and that's more than Loudrop combined, people. The lad scored this more goals now, 95, than big Mark Hateley made in the league for Rangers. This lad's a right back, people. He's no a centre forward, and this lad, he also has 112 assists. People can talk about penalties all day long, but the assist for the penalty spot, I didn't think so. The man has 112. That's 207 goal contributions in 387 games. How's that impossible? I'm still trying to process it. It doesn't even seem like a real stat. It's almost like when you're playing like FIFA career mode and everything like that, and you just start banging goals and it doesn't look realistic when you look back at your stats. He's doing that, but he's doing it in real life, people. And I've seen a couple things saying, aye, but he's cost us more goals than he's gave us and everything like that. Well, if you want to actually look at it, Rangers have conceded 197 league goals since returning to the top flight. Now, considering the fact that Tavernier wasn't responsible for all of them, but let's say he was, right? 197 goals conceded since returning. Let's say Tavernier was responsible for every single goal we have conceded during that time. Compare that with his stats and statistics that he's gave us going forward in terms of goals and assists. He is still offered more than if he was directly responsible for 197 goals conceded. That is madness. And what's kind of madness, people, of this season, I don't think he's been great. And I'll hold my hands up and say I don't think he's been as consistent or anywhere near the level of the standard that he has set previously at the football club. But do you know what he also has? In 27 SPFL matches, he has 14 goal contributions. Even when Tavernier isn't at his best, he is still better than a lot of our favourites and a lot that we sing songs and do all this about's actual good seasons, people. Even when he's not great, he's still better than Mace and impacts the games than Mace. And he's just held to a completely different standard, in my opinion, in some people's eyes and on social media. When you look at all that and you take all that in and you look at what he's actually faced and the journey that he's been on, does he deserve to be in the Rangers Hall of Fame? Yeah. And what's great about Tavernier is he's not finished yet. Do you know what I mean? Didn't make the joke. Didn't do the finish joke, people. He's still got a lot of years. And again, for me, as I mentioned earlier on, he needs to add more trophies to his legacy. Absolutely, people. But he's done enough now, and the incredible journey and all the things that he's done deserves to be there. And now where the squad's at, he should be adding a lot more trophies, and that's hopefully what we will do in his Rangers career. Of course, last season we got to a European final, won one cup. We need to win a lot more than that. We've got one to win on Sunday, and hopefully that keeps the actual ball rolling. But if you look at Tavernier as a man and what he's gave to this football club over the last 8 years, does he deserve to be in the Rangers Hall of Fame, considering everything he's faced and actually gave us the fan base? Yes, in my opinion. Now, I know you're upset me. I can imagine the comment section, but again, that's just my thoughts and opinions. I'd love to know your opinions on James Tavernier. Do you think he should be in the Hall of Fame? And if you are saying no, people, just say why in the comment section below. But if you didn't mind also giving me your best and or your memory that comes to your mind at the exact second you think it's Tavernier, that'd be great to see some positivity down there in the comment section, because the lad deserves it. I mean, we've got a cup final coming on Sunday. He's just been inducted to the Hall of Fame. Let me have a wee look on social media. Everyone's upset and tearing me to pieces. Great. That must be motivating people. You know what I mean? Let's get behind the skip dog. Let's get behind the squad. And that's all I've got to say, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. That has been the 3 inductees into the Rangers Hall of Fame. There are so many names that probably deserve to also be added to the list, and maybe we'll make that video in the future if you would like to see that. Maybe I'll name a couple of players that aren't in there that I think should be. Could be a conversation we could have in the comment section. If you do want to see that video in the future, let me know. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, as we edge closer to a cup final, I've been Siege and Over 92. Thank you so much for watching. All the best and bye.